my parents, I was their first child because they previously were trying to have children and they had 7 miscarriages. So
Whoa.
thankfully, my parents were, and they were really new to this. Like, my mom was the type of kid when she had to go to the doctor's appointments, like, she would run away from getting a shot. And my mom was quite a shy person. And so for her to be a shy person running away from needles and all that, she had to completely, that all had to go. And she had to be an advocate for me. She had to learn the whole medical world, really. I mean, but I love seafood. I literally all the time, like, thank God that I can eat seafood because I think I would be very disappointed. Like, there's a point where my mom thought I was going to die because I was in the ICU 3 days and I was on oxygen because I wasn't able to breathe on my own.
Altogether, she takes 38 pills a day. She keeps pill in a bowl at home and pops them in her mouth throughout the day like M&Ms. How the hell do you take 38 pills without feeling sick?
When emergency room doctors or any other doctors that don't know my condition, when they see that amount of pills I take, they kind of like look at me with this scared look on their face, like, what? You're taking, it's like, trust me, it's part of my rare disease and I have to do it. So with those days, I just kind of try to take care of my body and and my mental state as well because I tend to feel really guilty when I'm just laying here in bed trying to, take care of myself, but then feeling like I'm failing because I'm not accomplishing things. So
It's really, it comes down to it's really a solo battle.
right, it is because it's only you that you're saying these things to yourself. No one's saying any of those things that you're saying. You're saying them to you. So it's a personal battle, and that's where my faith comes in, and all those things. That's where it comes in my writing. So no, I was bullied a lot. Like you said, the example of the kid throwing the chair at me. And that was the same kid that was in special needs class with me as well, actually. Being the proud Latina that I am, as a Latina person, we're just loud in general. So when the stress and all that shows up, it just,
Yeah, sounds like Latinas and other disability you should add to your list.
yeah, it can be. Um,
And I think it's stretching you out too much and like giving you all these problems. And you should get that checked out.
yeah, and he's been with me ever since. I don't go anywhere without him. I don't sleep. He's with me in
Hello, welcome to my podcast, to my one Joe Suits. I am Joe Suits, and I'll be giving a mic to Noah just for rare diseases. One call, I'm just gonna do it one time. Appetite-the-proteinemia. We are definitely calling it ALB for the rest of the podcast. It affects
yes.
it only affects 100 people in the world. Her body is unable to absorb fat, resulting in deficiency of lipids and various essential vitamins. Also has POTS, which affects blood flow, leading to lightheadedness, fainting, and extremely rapid heartbeat. Has chronic fatigue syndrome, which is extreme fatigue for at least 6 months that can't be explained. Also has Desbuquois syndrome, or DPQD. Characteristics may vary in severity and can include short stature with short extremities, severe joint laxity with dislocation. She is also a Latina. I had to say that because I don't want to be cursed while sleeping. It's a pleasure to have you today.
Thank you. You did really well. Those especially the first one is very difficult to say. It took me not until like my young adulthood to really pronounce it correctly.
Oh, you can say it properly because I wouldn't even it, it's too much. Like I
It
don't even
is.
know
It is a
like
lot.
who came like think of the guy that I had to come up with the name. Like couldn't he just stick to like a 10 letter,
I
limit,
know. I'm really not sure why these names have to be so horrendously long, and especially when you're trying to spell it out on paper. It's like it takes you like, oh, and then
It,
you have to really think about it.
it doesn't even sound like a real word, honestly. It just sounds like they just
No.
They did like took like a noodle soup and just like whatever it spells out on paper is what we're going with.
Yes, that's correct. That's exactly what it looks like. I have no idea who invented these words or made them.
I
Okay,
mean,
this is it,
it's
and
not
we're
just
gonna
your
put them.
disease, but it's like I'm interviewing so many, it's like so many diseases. Like, who come up with these? Like, why?
I don't know, and that and medication names. I mean, let's just be fair. They're some I don't understand why they need to be that complicated.
Yeah, and or sometimes they'll have like a name, but then they'll have like a short name to it, with
Right.
as confusion to it. It's
Yes.
I know it's the same concept for animals too. They'll have like this weird Latin animal, and then it'll be like tiger. And it's like,
I
could we just say tiger instead of?
I know. I don't know why they make it all so difficult for people to just say names and things like that. But yeah, but it's interesting.
I should
But
definitely. I don't know if it's like a committee or like who comes up with the names. That I should just contact them and see like why even like just do like a 10 letter and just call it a day. Like
right,
no one.
exactly.
Let's start with a quote from one of your mentors by Hayao Miyazaki.
Yes, Hayao Miyazaki, yes.
To encapsulate this whole episode, the creation of a single world comes from a huge number of fragments and chaos. I'm gonna repeat it just for it's kind of deep. The creation of a single world comes from a huge number of fragments and chaos.
Yes.
So we would definitely be entering chaos right now.
Yes, okay.
So
Sounds
I'm gonna,
good.
yeah, so I'm gonna set the scene. You are 6 months old. Obviously, you don't really remember it, but you are
No,
crying, and I mean, it would be amazing if you did in a way.
it would
But
be that would be I guess like a super genius human or something if you
I,
actually remembered that.
I mean, I don't know if that's even possible to remember at that time. But you also, I don't think would want to remember it because I feel like there's a lot of boring times too.
Yes, I mean all I did was cry and
Yeah,
scream. So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
I
So
don't know
it's
how entertaining that is.
I mean, I guess it's best that you don't remember it. So you are crying in tons of pain. You are diagnosed with ABL. It says you need to have
Yes.
a modified diet, but sometimes that isn't
Hmm.
enough some days because you don't know if you will have a good day or a bad day. What kind of diet are you on?
My diet for an ABL patient is low fat to fat free. So, a lot of times growing up with that diet limitation, it would be difficult for others or even for myself to sort of understand somewhat because there was no manual. There was no set list of, okay, this is the sort of foods you should eat or foods you shouldn't. So it was very trial and error, and my parents and I really working on seeing what things affect me and what don't. But it's definitely one of those things where people are like, oh, but what about like almonds or nuts or avocados? I go, it's a good fat, but in my case, I can't have bad or good fats. So it leaves me with not eating really things that are fun, but I would get too sick if I ate, pizza or ice cream or any of those wonderful things. So, yeah, the diet is just fat free to low fat. I just have to be cautious on how much fat I eat in a day, which we don't really, I don't think I've actually really like sat down and calculated it. I just sort of know by experience where if I'm going too much or if I'm just like at the okay point.
So I know your disease is so rare that, and then you had it since birth, so you're like 28ish or so. So did you know all of that information back then, or was it a trial and error kind of thing?
It was the whole thing was a trial and error because my parents, I was their first child because they previously were trying to have children and they had 7 miscarriages. So
Whoa.
I was the last one. I showed up out of the blue. My mom didn't even know at first that I was there. And they never, the whole, on either side of the families, never dealt with any like extreme health conditions, and especially kids. Like all my other cousins, they're all healthy and able bodied and things. So it was very different for like the whole family to be like, oh my God, what is this? How do we deal with this? And for my parents, it was just extremely difficult because this was their first child. They've never experienced having children. And then here you are thrown with this child that's extremely ill. And the whole time before I got diagnosed, they had no idea what to do. So it was a lot on my parents. I literally don't know how they did that. My mom is like, she's just absolutely amazing. My dad is too, but my mom sort of deals with the doctor, like the medical stuff, and so yeah, I don't know how they did it, but it was always trial and error, and even to this day, it's still a trial and error because of all the other health issues that started to happen once I got older. So
I'm surprised your mom kept trying after like the third miscarriage because I feel like to me it would be just too traumatic to go through that
right,
experience again.
right, yes, I know. I'm not sure how my mom and dad really just kept trying because they really wanted a child, and it was to the point where after they lost the last one, they were ready to adopt. Actually, they were going to adopt a child from Colombia, but then they found out that I was there, so that kind of stopped that plan.
I mean, they could have still adopted another one, but I guess you are enough for them.
I was enough of a handful.
Great, that's a lot of I never heard anyone have so many miscarriages and still continue it.
Yeah, it was quite traumatic, but I keep
I,
saying,
I mean,
did I
how do
make
you
it
feel
better? I
about
don't
it?
know.
How do you
I
feel about it?
I I feel, to me, like, obviously I'm an only child. I've always wanted siblings, mainly so I just had extra support with me. It's the same thing when people with siblings are like,
Uh,
"Oh, I wish I was the only child." So it's always that thing where you want something that you can't have, but by the same time, I understood, I guess, why it wouldn't have worked, because my mom had to really put a lot of the attention on me due to all my health issues. So it wouldn't really have been fair to a sibling or the other child that she had to put a lot of the attention on me. And,
mhm.
I wouldn't want that for someone else. So it's probably easier that I was just the only one here.
Yeah, of course. Just I don't know. There's a lot to deal with the miscarriage, and then you're coming into the world, and a lot of uncertainty. Not really just you, but just in the rare disease world. There's so much
Right.
uncertainty that wow, that's a lot to handle for your parents.
Yes, it was. It really was. But they're just amazing. I don't even know.
No, of course, yes. I mean, that's the thing that when you're a baby, you really literally can't do anything. So you're just
No.
it's up to whoever's around you that wanna put the effort into you.
Yes, and I was so blessed that my parents were, because not all the time in this certain circumstances. Sometimes parents aren't really great with this sort of situation, but thankfully my parents were, and they were really new to this. Like, my mom was the type of kid, when she had to go to the doctor's appointments, like, she would run away from getting a shot. And my mom was quite a shy person, and so for her to be a shy person running away from needles and all that, she had to completely, that all had to go. And she had to be an advocate for me. She had to learn the whole medical world, really. I mean, she just went right in with no fear, no nothing. I mean, I'm sure she was afraid, but she did a good job at hiding it. And she had to learn how to put my NG tube down as an infant, which I was a screaming, squirmy little child. So
Yeah.
that's not an easy thing to do, help me with my medication. So it completely changed her, where the shyness and all that just had to go.
I mean, all parents are kind of winging it too. Like,
Right. Yes,
there's no
exactly.
book. There are millions of books out there, but no book really
Not for
compares you
this, no.
for any, even a regular child. They're just winging it, and then like if they had another child, it'd be like a piece of cake for them.
Right. Yeah. I would I would think after me it would.
You mentioned that you have a low. I don't know if you hear the sirens, but they keep going off right now, which is not great.
Oh, it's fine.
That's just New York City living. But so you say you want a low fat diet. So like, what is a regular meal to you? Because you say you can have chicken,
I can
avocados,
have
ice cream.
Yeah, I can have like the chicken breast. So anything that's white meat, I can have. So like turkey breast, since that's the white meat, pork tenderloin, since that's leaner. None of the dark meat, and no meat, like no beef. I can have buffalo meat because that's leaner. I can have deer meat as well because that's also pretty lean. So my day to day is mainly just I'll have chicken breast with whatever type of seasoning and flavoring we add to it, potato, pasta, pretty much that really.
It is the,
Vegetables, I can
it
have
is this
vegetables.
it is the same as having a low protein diet, or are those two different things?
Those are two different things because the protein is fine. It's mainly just the fat part. In fact, they always, my nutritionist has always encouraged me to eat more protein. So that's where eating more like buffalo and all that stuff comes in because it has a lot of protein in it. The
Can
protein's
can
fine.
can you have shrimp?
Yes, I can have seafood. Yes. I love crab legs. It's my favorite thing.
Yeah, because
Uh,
I know
and
they're high in
shrimp.
protein, but and low in fat, I believe, right?
Yes, yes, they don't have a lot of fat. So obviously, other people when they have seafood, they always have it with butter or some type of butter garlicky sauce. So in that case, I don't do that. I just eat the crab legs without any of that stuff on it. But I love seafood. I literally all the time like thank God that I can eat seafood because I think I would be very disappointed if like there's variety, but then there's sort of not. It depends how you look at it.
I'm just glad I ate before this podcast interview. You're making me pretty hungry right now. Yeah. So mentioned that you had an NG tube growing up. So
Yes.
are you on any formula now then, or are you just normal diet?
I'm still on my fat-free to low-fat diet. Mainly the NG tube was because at the time I was failure to thrive and I wasn't gaining any weight because obviously my mom before they found out about ABL, my mom was breastfeeding me, she was doing all the things that you should do, but in fact that was harming me because I wasn't absorbing it and I had a lot of pain. So I believe the formula was Tolerex or something like that. And once that formula came into my life, I started to get better. And I even was a little bit of a chunky kid after that. And then it went from NG tube to a peg tube, so like a G tube. And that was mainly, it wasn't for once I was starting to take because I have to have an overdose of the fat soluble vitamins, so E, D, A, and K, because in hopes that somewhere my body absorbs it. And at the time, it was in liquid form, especially the vitamin E, and it was a lot to actually have to drink, and it was not really tasty. It was kind of gross. So that's where we mostly used the G tube for, was to put all those meds down. But once I began to orally swallow capsules and pills, then the less time we actually used the G tube. But there's a whole other longer story because I still actually have one now, but there was a point of time where I didn't have one, but then I had to get it back. So,
Yeah, I have a DTube tube, so we're to be friends.
okay. I haven't seen that. I haven't really met anyone that has G tubes a lot. So, yeah, I have
I
a
don't
buddy
either. I
now.
mean, yeah, it's not something you don't bring up casually
Yeah, no,
either. Like even
no.
I don't promote. I mean, even I don't promote it on any of my posts. So it's, yeah, kind of a shocker, I guess. Yeah, I did lost the ability to swallow completely. So like if you see the cup here throughout the episode, I can't swallow my saliva. So I have to spit into it.
Mhm.
So that I have different. But the G tube is a blessing in terms of giving yourself liquids because
Yes.
like you'll have like days where you like don't want to feel like drinking anything, but you're gonna force your body to accept it. So you just,
Yes.
I think it's like when I had COVID, and I think the deep tube made my recovery faster because I was able to give myself a lot of water, like more way more water than I would have drinking by mouth. and I was
Right.
also able to give myself formulas to give myself calories. So I think that helped me recover a lot faster.
Right. Yes,
And
no,
then,
they are a blessing for sure.
no, I mean, I get like why they're not wanted and such, but I mean, other thing is, well, you eat normally, so you have kind of the best of both worlds. So like, but like for me,
Yes.
I like save a lot of money because I get my formulas through my insurance, so I don't pay for any meals
Right.
again.
That's
The
good.
others, I don't have to like decide on meals anymore, which is, I mean, I do miss food. I haven't tasted food in like 5+ years, and I do miss
Wow.
that. But I don't miss like cooking or like what do I want to eat today or like getting my vitamins and such. I did do the formula. And within 10 minutes, I'm done, and then that's it. I can move on.
Right. Yes. I mean, it's literally that must be like the staple in every household. What are we eating today? I mean, it's like somehow, strangely, with my fat-free, low-fat diet, that's literally a lot of the time. That's what I think about is food, which is just really weird because we spend the day in our house going, okay, what are we having for dinner?
Yeah,
Um,
like well, you gotta do it every single day to the day you die. That's like a lot of decisions.
Yes, it's too many decisions, really. And I have ADHD as well, so I'm not really the best person at times to just like make the decision because there's just so much in my head where I'm like, do I want to eat that? Do I want to eat this? But yes, I mean, I have growing up, I've had the oral and I have the G tube, which at this point I feel for what it gives me now, I don't know if there would be a time where it would be okay for me to get rid of it. Like there's some times where I wish I didn't have it, but most of the time I don't because it's what helps me at this point live substantially as much as I can on a day-to-day basis.
So, are you saying that you have a G2 but you don't use it unless for like an emergency kind of setting, or you
I
don't?
use it I
Yeah.
use it daily because with the pots, the I drink a lot of water, but some reason it doesn't seem to be enough. So I put Pedialyte down the that's what my G tube was for. So I have a pump and I do 1,500 mLs of Pedialyte every day. But that's the only thing I use it for.
Yeah,
So
you're just drinking without doing any of the effort,
right,
basically.
yes, basically. I mean, I still drink a lot of water. I have my thermos with me everywhere I go. What happened was with the pots, I was receiving IV fluid treatment, but what happened was they put a PICC line, and right after I had the PICC line, I used it for about a week and it was working really well. But then I got an infection and
Yeah.
it went in, my bloodstream and I was septic. This was about 7 years ago now. And there's a point where my mom thought I was going to die because I was in the ICU 3 days and I was on oxygen because I wasn't able to breathe on my own.
Wow.
So that's when they decided, okay, we're not doing a PICC line. We're not even thinking about putting a port. You have to go back to the G tube. So, and the thing is, I literally had the hole pretty much closed, the inside part of it, and they
Oh
had to
no.
redo the surgery again, which, I don't know if you've experienced this. I'm sure you have, but when doctors sometimes tell you how a procedure or a surgery is going to go, they sort of say, "Oh, it won't hurt as much because it's in the same area." So, or this procedure, you'll just feel a little bit of pressure. I always, even when they say that to me, I go, "No, it isn't." Like I know within myself, whatever you're saying right now, I don't feel like that's the legit thing I'm going to feel. It was so painful when I woke up. I thought to myself, this, you're telling me this doesn't hurt? What are you talking about? Like it was so painful. This whole area just to move was so horrible.
I mean, my doctor would just be like, "There are these things that we don't know we're gonna do until you're asleep." And I was like,
Right.
"Okay." I mean, I never had surgery, like a re-surgery kind of thing, so I can't relate. But I feel like, yeah, I do remember when I did get my tube installed, like it hurt to cough for a while.
Yes.
That sucked a lot. it's great now. Like it's not. I mean, the only thing that sucks for me is that due to my disability, I can't feed myself ever again. So like that's
Right,
just annoying for someone else that has to do it. It would be way more convenient if I was able to swallow. So like the cup problem I have, it's annoying if you're just relying on the tube. If you just want to drink, like most people don't drink a cup in one go. They drink like sip here, sip there. You're eating.
right,
You like switch and stuff. But like in my case, I don't do that. I just go. Like I'll do 2 cups of formula and then 1 cup of water, and then I finish up for the couple of hours.
right, right,
And then depends on. I mean, at home I'm pretty dormant, so like I'm not burning that much. But like outside, like especially in the summer, I do drink a lot more
right.
because it just. But it's also a weird sensation for me because like if you're thirsty and you drink through your mouth, you feel refreshed going from like your mouth to your body. But I feel the
Right,
opposite where it goes from my body to my mouth, which is very
right.
strange sensation.
Yes, now that you say that, it is quite, but somehow like you said, because I go with the both worlds of actually eating orally
Yeah.
and then having to do this. A lot of times when I'm using my pump, sometimes I like feel it sometimes. If the liquid is a little bit cold, because sometimes it's in the fridge or something, but I'll be like, oh,
Oh, you
okay,
feel really cold when it's cold like that.
yeah, yeah.
Like it takes me like 20 minutes to like warm up again.
Yes, it's a weird sensation. It's like is you feel this like and you're like, oh, it feels like I've just swallowed ice, but I haven't even put anything in my mouth.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
I only feel it when like if I'm empty and I feel it like first start. After a while, I don't. But if it's cold,
right,
like I try to do all my like liquids out in the room temperature. But even
right.
sometimes room temperature it makes me colder. Like I get my
Yes,
body it's not used to like the way I think about it that when you drink through your mouth, your body like your neck warms it up a little bit and then it's fine. But like your stomach it can't warm things up, so it's like dealing with it.
right,
And then in the winter, I
right.
guess it sucks even more.
Yes, yes. The winter,
Yeah.
yes.
But sometimes I also have the opposite where sometimes it's too hot and I just feel like lava coming in and I have to like stop and put more ice in it.
Right,
Because sometimes I'll push almost every single dinner I'll blend my meals just to have
right,
like a regular, you know, vitamins and such. So sometimes it'll be too hot and then after I put ice in it. So that's also a weird sensation. I wish I'll be able to swallow again, but it's kind of weird because if I did, let's say, had the ability to swallow again, I don't think I would get rid of my teeth tube just for the convenience of it.
right. I know it is. It is quite an inconvenience, actually.
I think I would majority of the time still eat to my teeth tube. I leave my meals because like I don't want to decide on dinner and I save so much money on it.
Right. Well, that's a plus, I guess. Yes.
Yeah, I mean some people would be like, "Oh, you should will love to swallow again." I do. I mean, I would still swallow all my liquids just fine because it's easy. But like meals, I wouldn't mind being on a G tube again. It'd be like amazing for me if I could be able to travel like in a van and just have the G tube because I would literally never have to think about food again. Like I would literally have all my food with me.
Right. Right.
Like it would be a huge convenience factor.
Yes. Yes. It is quite.
So let's go. So you mentioned that you were on tubes. I mean, you were mentioning that you were on pills a lot. So just for context, a regular
Yes.
person takes one pill of vitamin E per day. Noah takes 27 pills of vitamin E per day every single day. Her body has extremely difficulty absorbing the nutrients, so she has to overcompensate and hope her body absorbs some of it. If she didn't take her medicine, she is at high risk of losing her eyesight and neurological deterioration. Altogether, she takes 38 pills a day. She keeps pills in a bowl at home and pops them in her mouth throughout the day like M&Ms. How the hell do you take 38 pills without feeling sick?
Well, here's why we ended up doing the bowl system, and it was actually my doctor at NIH. He was like, why don't you just put them in a bowl and pop them like you're having a candy? Because obviously they are fat soluble, so they're fatty medications. So it just seemed to me over time, like my stomach or whatever the problem was not. I was starting to feel nauseous. So what I end up doing is making sure I have a full stomach. So I make sure I sort of eat something, so my stomach isn't empty when I'm taking all these meds. And I take a probiotic, and that seems to help, my stomach not to be too much damage. But no, yes, taking 38 pills a day is quite a challenge. First of all, remembering and keeping track is one thing, and I have like reminders everywhere, and I always keep track on my phone. It has a reminder where it goes, okay, it's time for you to take this. So it's a lot. It's a lot of work. This is the moment where I miss having the liquid form, because then I could just shoot it down my G tube instead of remembering to swallow them. I know without it that I won't be able to function well, and things would happen. So it's just sort of like I just have to do it. But a lot of times my mom is also pretty helpful. We sort of like, I make sure all my meds are organized and I go through them. But luckily, a lot of them I get from NIH. So, like the vitamin E and A, I get from NIH. They send it to me when I run out. So, don't
Are
have
they
to
the
pay
one
for
that
that.
taste good, or they don't taste? Because I know some of them taste like, I think like the Flintstones one tastes really good. So like, are these tasteful for you?
Unfortunately, no, it's not in a gummy. It's just a capsule, and you just swallow them. It's too bad they're not in like some delicious gummy form. Then that would be fun to do. But I don't know if they would be able to even do that to the amount that I have to take, because it's just so much. I mean, when when emergency room doctors or any other doctors that don't know my condition, when they see that amount of pills that I take, they kind of like look at me with this scared look on their face, like, what? It's like, trust me, it's part of my rare disease, and I have to do that.
No, I mean, have you ever started blending the pills and putting it down your G tube anyway? So you don't have.
Yes, we did try that, but the problem with the vitamin E and A is that it's very oily, and so even when you blend it, it doesn't really go flow through the tubing really well.
Oh
And
no! Of
yeah,
course it does that for you.
yeah, of course, and unfortunately, even when my mom tries to get it like in a syringe, it's, we don't know if I'm going to be really getting what I need to get by doing that. I mean, we tried. We even tried actually like cutting the capsules and putting the inside of it in like a smoothie or in like some
Mm-hmm.
type of shake, but that didn't really end up working well either, because we get like maybe a drop, and then when you mix it with everything, I don't know how much of the medicine is actually there, and at
Yeah,
the
like
end you
it gets
have
like on
this.
the side of the cups and all that. You don't really
Right,
know.
and you have to like really get to the bottom of the cup
Mm-hmm.
and make sure you drink every last drop, and when you get to the bottom of it and you drink it, it's pretty gross. So
Yeah,
we tried everything. We literally tried whatever different ways, but as long as I don't take the pills on an empty stomach, I'm okay.
I guess you are forced to be a pill swallower because not everyone can do pills.
Yeah, I guess I am. I don't know. I feel like I don't. I've been doing taking pills for a long time, and I look forward to the day when I'm really old and I don't have to do it anymore. I look forward to that day, because then it'll be off my mind, and I don't want to have to remember to do them. Sometimes it's funny because my dad has very minimal amount of pills that he has to take, and sometimes he's like, "Oh, I forgot to take this pill today." And I'm like, I can't do that.
So I
I
guess I'm
can't do
guess
that.
yeah. So I'm guessing you do like by 12 p.m. you have to take 12 pills.
Yeah. So sort of like I have my morning, and then I have my afternoon, and then I have my evening, and then I have stuff before bed. So,
So
um,
like, I know you have days where you can't get out of bed. So how do you keep
Mm,
your diet up? Because like when I'm in bed, I didn't eat much since I am burning way less energy, mixed with
right,
depression and sorts.
right. Well, when I'm in that state of not being able to get out of bed, usually my mom helps out by making the meal for me, bringing it into my room. She makes sure I have my medicines close to me, so I have them like at the side of my bed, just so it's easier access for me to take them.
Mm.
So those are the sort of things my mom we just kind of adjust certain things when I'm in those modes of not being able to get out of bed. And that's mostly, I would say, due to the chronic fatigue and the POTS. Not really sure if it's the ABL, but to be quite fair, with all my other, because I'm also undiagnosed as well, because there's other things that go on that the doctors don't know what they are. So it could be just a combination of all the different health issues just wreaking havoc. So with those days, I just kind of try to take care of my body and and my mental state as well, because it you tend I tend to feel really guilty when I'm just laying here in bed trying to, take care of myself, but then feeling like I'm failing because I'm not accomplishing things. So it's a whole cycle where I go, okay, you have to just take care of yourself, and that's an accomplishment in itself. So it's still a struggle mentally for me, for sure, to just deal with those days. But I push through it, and well, I don't have a choice. So
I mean, it's totally valid everything you're feeling. As a chronic ill person, it's a very different kind of thinking. It's difficult. Just even for the people that are in chronic ill community, it's difficult, and there's nothing I can really say to you to make you feel better.
right,
It's really it comes down to it's really a solo battle.
right, it is because it's only you that you're saying these things to yourself. No one's saying any of those things that you're saying. You're saying them to you. So it's a personal battle, and that's where my faith comes in, and all those things. That's where it comes in my writing. I writing is a huge part of my life, and that has really helped me as well as reading and just focusing on my passions and just really doing that.
Yeah, we'll get more into your passion a little bit later. So I just
Yes.
want to say, so you mentioned the NIH studies programs. I just
Yes.
want to say that your symptoms are so unexplainable that you join a NIH study program where they do not know your diagnosis, but will keep studying you and your DNA to get another diagnosis that is basically a lifetime. So let's talk about shit the kids did to you when you were growing up. I have here you stopped growing after 13 due to DPQD, so you were 4'11". People were making fun of you, and someone even threw a chair at you. Like who fucking does that? Then you were
Yeah, I know.
like it's so fucked up. But like
It
who
it
even does
is.
that? Then you were homeschooled for your
Mhm.
safety. Looking back, how do you feel about that?
Well, yes, being the short stature that I am, and I will say, I will have to thank you for making me 2 inches taller. Um, I am 4'9", and the funny thing is about that though was I'm a very like my parents especially, they know that I'm a quite interesting person. Growing up, I always wanted to strangely be my individual self. So if certain people liked a certain thing, I wouldn't want to do that. So when the last time I had got measured, when they said I was 4'9", I almost got upset because I was 4'8" the whole time. And so I was like, now I'm 4'9"? What is this? And then I started realizing, shouldn't you be happy that you're 4'9"? My brain just works really strangely. But thinking back on when I was in school and the tremendous bullying that I was dealing with was very difficult. Mainly being short and then having to always go to the nurse's office to have the nurse put my medicines down my G tube. You kind of already know that you're different from everyone else. and the fact that I had trouble in school, meaning I was not good with math. I'm still not good with math. Reading comprehension,
Ditto.
yeah, math I can't. Like asking me a math question is like the most horrifying thing people can do. I like just stand there completely frozen. I'm like, mm, I can't
I
do
mean,
this.
most of it is pretty bullshit though. Like the Pythagorean theorem. Like, who can use that?
No, I mean, who's gonna do any of that? I mean, I'm not. I don't plan on going into that profession. So, and I had problems with reading comprehension, and I was in special needs, so that didn't help the scenario at all. So no, I was bullied a lot. Like you said, the example of the kid throwing the chair at me, and that was the same kid that was in special needs class with me as well, actually, which was quite interesting. It seemed like both in my special needs class and in my normal classroom, it just never ended really. I mean, it was an everyday affair. And no, it sucked. I mean, it was horrible. I mean, I felt like that was like probably the worst times of my school life was at that elementary school. It was just terrible. It felt really I felt really alone, and I felt like, okay, clearly no one really likes me. So I was mostly friends like with not friends, but the people I would talk to would mostly be like the librarian or like the people at the cafeteria because there wasn't, I had like maybe one friend and he kind of stuck with me. But other than that, I didn't really have that many friends in school.
Well, do you? So I know. So you go to homeschool. Like, do you wish you were in a public environment to be outside and exposed to different cultures and ideologies?
Well, I did somewhat, but then this is sort of where my poetry and my interest started to come in because there was a private school like about 20 or 30 minutes away from where I currently live. And they had a program where they allowed homeschoolers to take a couple classes, like maybe go there 3 times a week. And so, in the way, I sort of experienced high school, but in a very small way, obviously. But even in that small way, it was enough for me where I was like, I thank God I wasn't actually in high school because it was not the best experience at all. But at the same time, it probably would have been good for me socially, maybe. Not only was it just severe bullying, but also my health at the age around 13 is when it started to decline, and so it was getting difficult. So in a way, it's good. There's always good and bad in decisions, but for me, I think it was the best decision that I was homeschooled because I learned better that way because it was just my mom and I. So we did it. We learned at my pace that I was able to learn at, and so that made it easier for me.
So how is your mental health? Because not only is your body screwing you over, but the outside world is not kind to you either.
No, no, no. My mental health is up and down. I have moments where I feel depressed. I have huge anxiety. Like I have anxiety moments where I it goes from 0 to 100. Like my temper is not the best. Like when I'm stressed out, it just goes from 0 to nothing. And being the proud Latina that I am, as a Latina person, we're just loud in general. So when the stress and all that shows up, it just it's even louder, and I can't. It feels like I lose control at that point because my brain is just panicking over everything. So I deal with anxiety, depression, and mostly just I have this sort of somewhat anger. I think I sometimes have issues with anger, but that's mainly because, like you said, in society, it's not, you don't always feel like you're treated in the best way. So yeah, my mental state isn't always great, but I have therapy, and thank gosh for my therapist. She's absolutely amazing, and my parents are really supportive, and my faith as well plays a part of it that helps me mentally. When I'm in prayer, it helps me to kind of just calm myself, a bit and just kind of go, okay, I'm going to get myself into this calmer place. And so then I'll be able to, keep fighting and get my way through life, really.
Yeah, sounds like Latina is another disability you should add to your list.
Yeah, it can be. It can be. Um,
And I think it's just stressing you out too much and like giving you all these problems. I don't know, you should get that checked out.
yeah,
Maybe
I
there's a
probably
cure or
should.
something.
Yeah, I probably should get that checked out. Put that in the check. But the strange thing is, out of the three of us, I'm probably the loudest. Um, I don't know how that ended up happening, to be fair. Like, my dad's literally born and raised in Colombia. I was not. So he came from there. He likes to say he's too Americanized now. And I'm like, okay, but I'm the one because I get very passionate about things. So it just sort of comes out.
Do you ever think that because maybe you're louder because you don't have as many chances to express yourself versus someone that goes out more often and such?
That could be it. Now that you're saying it, it could possibly be that because a lot of the time I'm dormant in my house. So there's not a lot of chances where I'm out and about expressing myself. So that could be part of it, like this inner just wanting to come out and express, and so it just comes out with my Latina passionate um, way. I mean, mainly it's not like I'm loud at everything. It's mainly just if if we're watching TV as a family and certain things happen within the show or that certain characters, I get very passionate about it and I have to say like my opinion or whatever, but I do in a pretty dramatic way, I guess.
Well, I'm not
um,
coming to your house anytime soon.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't really recommend unless you're able to handle it. But if you're not, no.
Okay.
But usually I'm really good when there's guests. So, you
I'm not
know,
gonna accept your opinion right now. So I need a second opinion.
okay,
So
you can get a second opinion.
so we're gonna segue to the next section. So may I see
Hmm.
Teddy? And then for context, Noah received
Yes,
this bear when she went to Disney World through her Make a Wish Foundation.
yes,
Yeah, there you go. That's quick.
that's him. Yes. He was given to me by the couple that helped us make the Make-A-Wish happen. She gave it to me. They gave it to me when I believe I was two, 2 or 3, I think I was.
I think it was
And he's been with
it
me
was
ever
3 years
since.
old, according to the
Yes,
article.
yes, it was. Yeah, and he's been with me ever since. I don't go anywhere without him. I don't sleep. He's with me in my bed. Every time I go to NIH, he's with me. Every time I have procedures or surgeries, he's been through the whole thing. And he's quite a great companion. So yeah, he's just been great. I mean, I know it's a teddy bear. It's not like, but for me, he's like my security blanket, you know. So
No,
he's been great.
I mean he means a lot to you, like, and there's no
Yeah.
argument about that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I'm
mean,
just
you can see his wear a little bit. Like he's gone really skinny. He used to have a chubbier little stomach area, but with all the years of going and seeing all the stuff with me, I think he's just gotten old.
do you ever thought of replacing it or like redoing I guess surgery on him to fix him up?
Yes, my mom and I have a plan where we're gonna have to set a time where we do some surgeries, to kind of put more stuffing and make him a little more lively looking like he used to. But we're definitely going to have to do that at some point because there's certain areas where my mom has had to stitch him up a little bit. I thought it would be worse, but he actually looks pretty good for how long I've had him.
Is it of anything? Like, is it from a show or anything? I mean, it just seems I never
No,
seen it before.
no, it's from I forget the company name, but I don't think they make teddy bears like this anymore. He's quite a unique for what teddy bears look like now. But no, yeah, the company, this was like how they used to make them, I think. And I don't know if they have these looking bears anymore. I don't think they do. They still make bears, I believe, but they
You
definitely
should
don't look like this.
why don't you like wait till my podcast uploads and then maybe you should contact them like, hey, I have this bear, see if they can do anything for you. I'm
Yeah,
sure they will be love to
that
do something.
oh yeah, you know what? That would be a good idea. Maybe they can fix them up.
Yeah, like they
Maybe
would.
they
I
can
mean,
fix them up.
for one, they would love the publicity behind it too, but also they will help you
Right.
out, or you can go on eBay and see if they have other dolls like it too. I can definitely help you out with that.
Yeah, that would be yeah, I should give a try writing to that company and see what they say.
Yeah, but I also don't know how you feel because some people, like if I did replace your teddy with another brand new teddy, I don't think. I think for one you would hate me, and two it wouldn't have the same
Yeah,
like.
no, it wouldn't be the same. It would have to be like they would be able to fix what him, like, stuff him or whatever. Because no, it wouldn't be the same. I mean, I even said in my in like my medical papers, or not will, but like I forget what it's called, but it had asked, what do I want to be buried with or whatever? Do I have things I want? And I said the teddy bear has to go with me because
No.
I'm not going to trust anyone else taking care of him. It's not going to happen. So no, he's going to do what he always done, and is just stick by me. He's done a great job. So
I'm gonna be selfish for him, but I never got my way. I never had to make a wish before. So I'm always jealous of these people that did.
aw, I mean, my
Yeah.
parents. I don't even know. I forget how they even got how they did that. But at the time they signed me up, because I think they weren't sure how long I was gonna be here, because they weren't,
Yeah.
because it was still very new, the illnesses and things like that. So they just wanted to get the Make a Wish, and they knew I loved Disney, so they figured, well, there you go. But somewhat, it's sort of like I had this conversation. It's like, too bad it isn't like three wishes, because
Oh
I would love to
really?
have the yeah, like when I was younger, I was like, too bad it wasn't three wishes. But then,
Uh,
as I gotten older, I have like so many different options that I would have said. But Disney was the best, because it was a memory that I have not like a solid memory, but there's home videos.
yeah.
So
You always want to save it for a day where you're like older and remember and enjoy it more.
yeah,
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 you would enjoy Disney World way more now than when you were 5.
right, yeah. I mean, I know I highly enjoyed it because I watched the home videos, and you could see myself being so super happy about it. But it would be a different experience as I was older. But that experience was an absolute blessing, and they're such a lovely couple, and we still keep in contact, and they're just very nice.
Yeah, now I'm too old to get a Make a Wish, though. That sucks for me.
Oh,
But
yeah,
uh, I mean, it's fine. Uh, Um, my mental health deteriorated because of that. No, it's fine. I mean, it would have been nice to have it. I don't know what I'd do at this point either. In a way, I
right.
guess like strip club maybe that'd be really awesome right now. I don't know. Disney World would be pretty cool. I don't know. It's also weird because I can't eat anything. So like Disney World, like one of the things are the food. So it's like
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of different food stuff there.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then I'm also pretty disabled. So most of the rides I couldn't even do at Disney World. So it's like, is it even worth going there anymore?
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
but probably I'd go like to one of the most beautiful places in the world and like a private jet and all that. That'd be really cool to do.
Right. Yeah, I think that would be a good thing. That would have been a good choice.
I mean, I think Disney World is definitely up there. I always like make fun of the people where they'll waste their wish on something kind of stupid. So like
Right.
someone will be like, I want an iPad, and I'm like, they have like millions of dollars to spend on you, and you buy an iPad.
I know
Because
that's
like
not
because like Disney World is like that's like a $5,000 to $10,000 trip easily. Like you're
it's very
mo
expensive.
yeah, but like most parents could buy an iPad or eventually buy one. Like that's nothing really special. Like Disney World, they'll like carry you if they need to carry you, you know.
Right,
So
I know, exactly.
yeah, or like I think a big it's really dependent. The shopping speed ones are a little bit weird because it's only kind of for the it's only enjoyable for like that 1 year because then like clothes, like you,
Right.
fashion changes and it's kind of just a waste of money in the end too. At least like Disney really always have
Yeah.
like a memory of it.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm definitely not being. I'm glad that my parents did such a good job at choosing that because no, yeah, I mean, you would want to do something where it's like a nostalgic memory for you when you get older. I mean, that's the fun of the whole thing. So yeah, I think my parents made a very good choice.
Difficult, especially if you're young and you don't know what's happening because kids change their minds so often. Like probably shows something like I don't know. I don't even know what you would choose, but like kids are dumb sometimes.
Oh, well,
And
I
you,
was definitely an interesting child.
nah, but all kids are dumb. They're just dumb because they don't like know any better. So they
Right.
like if we let them run wild with their idea, it'll be like ice cream for every meal of the day.
Right. Yeah.
Just some dumb shit. So we're gonna move on. So I know. So you have we established teddies. So I know you bring it every
Yes.
time you go to the hospital.
Hmm.
So at the children's end of NIH. So it
Yes.
seems you go extremely often. How come?
I go there once a year for about a week. That's for mainly my ABL diagnosis. My Dr. Shambrook, is the one that I'm in his protocol, so he's always watching out. But because once I got POTS and CFS and these other undiagnosed issues, I was going there more often because things were happening. So I deal with a lot of pain in my body, and I have I've had like 8 surgeries, and certain things they still don't know why. I had this ankle pain that was really bad. I had this wrist pain that was really bad, and just other like small things that pop up where they want to just watch over. So I have a lot of different specialists that I see at NIH, and so I would go there more often than just the once a year. But since COVID, I haven't been there in 2 years. So they're saying hopefully by this spring and summer I should be able to go for my annual, and it's going to be a lot with this time around because I've missed 2 years.
I know you said you missed 2 years, but you didn't really miss 2 years of your appointments. It's not that personal touch that you're used to. Fair to
Yes,
say.
I mean I've seen it's fair to say, I mean, I've seen like my local doctors here, and I talk to my doctors at NIH, but they haven't really been able to check me over and do the certain testings that they would be needing to do. I mean, I went one time to get my blood work done, like it was last August, but it was just to do that, check my levels. And then that was it because they still had a lot of protocols and rules that was still set. So
So what kind of
once
testing do you have to do since you are such a unique case?
I have a lot that I have to do, especially with the ABL. The eye clinic is all day. We call it the black hole because you feel like you go and you never come out. Because there's so many different testing I have to do for my eyes because of the ABL. The vitamin A and E is crucial, but the vitamin A is really crucial when it comes to my eyesight. So they always have to check, and there's this test called E ERG. No, yeah, ERG, where it's this test where they put you in this dark room. So they put contacts in your eyes, like a mask on top, and you have to be in this complete dark room for about a half an hour, I believe, as I remember it, a half an hour to like an hour in the dark. And then they remove all the stuff off, and you have to go into this big circle like bowl. And what it does is it just flashes bright lights in your eyes. And you have these big contact lenses that keep your eyeballs completely open. You can't blink. It's like the most horrific thing ever. You just come out of the dark and they're shining these bright lights in your eyes.
So
Because
that test is
they
your
always have to check
eyesight.
my retina. Yes, yes, they always have to check my retina because with the ABL, it you can have night blindness, or it can just affect the retina, and you have the retina pigmentosis or whatever it's called.
Wait, do you have
which
night blindness?
I did at one point.
Oh,
There's a point where
I had it, but I didn't realize that I had it till like
mhm.
someone to say, "Hey, do you notice you don't see well in dark?" I'm like, "Yeah." And I just thought everyone just saw shitty in dark, but it was just no. I have night blindness. And I was like, "Oh my god." That explains it. Because there'll be people that like be walking in the dark and like don't know where they're going. I'm like, I need to hold your hand to walk. So yeah, that's
Right.
I'm not paranoid, but like what like every time I read about a new disease, I would kind of go to the extreme, and I think that's normal for everyone. But it seems like you would go more often just to be more monitored.
Yes, it's mainly just a monitor thing because NIH is a research hospital. It's not like, your local doctor where they'll just treat you with everything. I mean, they do what they can over there by doing testing, doing more, looking into different things. They're the ones that just thought of the idea of giving me B12 shots in hopes that that could help, a little bit with my energy and everything. So they're the ones that give me the B12 shots. My mom gives me the shot every 28 days. So that's been helpful. So I mean, without NIH or Children's Hospital, I mean, I wouldn't really be here because with their combined efforts, it has really helped me out. And the good thing is that they diagnosed me at an early age. So, because I've met other patients with ABL where they didn't get diagnosed till later in their life, and they're blind and they're already having like issues walking and things like that. So I'm quite blessed that they were able to find it earlier for me.
So it just seems your life never stops in terms of medical
No, it
shenanigans.
doesn't. No, it
Hmm.
does not stop. I look forward to when it does, but but right now it does not stop. So it's sort of where I have to work through, making sure my medical things are organized, but then working on my writing career and wanting to focus on that as much as possible.
So we're gonna segue into our next section. So let's talk relationship. You said you don't want to
Yes.
talk about your family, but you never said anything about losing your best friend. So we both have that in common. So how does this feel to do the breakup? Talk to me.
So, yes, I was friends with this person for 8 years and it was quite difficult, but it was a strange feeling really because it was hard and hurtful, but at the same time I sort of felt more relieved than I thought in some strange way. It just sort of I sort of noticed that this person was distancing themselves, but I wasn't quite understanding why. And it just came to a point where I just had to speak up, and I didn't really know how to start it because I'm not good with conflict. So I try to avoid it as much as possible. And so it just came to the point where I had to tell her what I felt. And I mean, she didn't particularly like it, I guess. And so that was the whole reasoning of why we don't really talk much anymore.
It's definitely hard to do the breaking up,
Yes,
to stand up for yourself. You don't want to lose the person because you have the memories
right.
of it, but at the same time, you're better off being solo. And I know it's extremely difficult, especially if you don't have really someone else to replace their shoes.
Right.
If you ever can find someone, then I do understand the difficulty behind it.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, huge props to you for doing it, especially in the situation that you are in constantly.
Yes. And like I was saying, I'm not the best person when it comes to not necessarily I don't know if it's conflict necessarily. It's more like I don't want others to feel uncomfortable and I don't want to hurt their feelings. So it's almost like I try to avoid that. But then in the end, the only person I'm hurting is myself because I'm trying to be all about, okay, I don't want to hurt this person. I don't want them to feel bad. I don't want them to do this. But then I'm just not being nice to myself. So it just came to the point where I had expressed what I was feeling and it didn't pan out. So
Hey, huge props to you. I know it takes a lot of drink to do it, so I do feel the void they left, and it's hard to fill that void, and it takes a long time to kind of maybe that void will never be filled. Like in my case, that void has never been filled, but it's definitely a tricky situation. That I don't know, and then like sometimes like you always do like first is like awful doing it, and then you feel empowered for a while, then you feel like shit for a long time.
Yes.
Okay, like you miss the person. I don't know. It's like difficult because I still do miss the person and such, but like you said, you're better off without them.
Yes. I mean at this point it's sort of I'm starting to learn and understand what it means to do something for you good for yourself. And I hadn't been that way in even other past friendships. I put my whole heart into it, and I don't know if I'm maybe too much sometimes, but when I'm a friend with a person, I try to go all out in noticing things about them. So if they're having a hard time, I try to do something that makes them happy, or I go above and beyond, and maybe sometimes that's too much. But I think that's just been my personality. But I'm learning now to just sort of know that I can still be myself, but not to the point where I'm not taking care of my own self either.
Say is to have your own boundaries and that you can put stuff in it, put stuff into the relationship, and don't expect things back, but also don't keep doing things if they're not reciprocating. Then
Right,
it's not worth your time to put more effort into it.
right, exactly. It's a learning process.
Yeah, just wish more people understood that process. 'Cause I feel like a lot of people are hurting themselves, and it's like you keep repeating the same actions over and over and expecting different results. I mean, yeah, there could be that one person that will give you what you're putting in, but you're just hurting yourself more. So it's better to put up your boundaries and
Right,
just know that you're doing great and you can. Like if you know you're a good person, then you don't need your validation from anyone else, and just do you because it's my concept, my thought process is there are other people that can replace you. And
right,
no person is that special to say, and it's just, it's all about you in the end. So you gotta do what you gotta do what's best for you,
right,
unfortunately.
right. Yes, and I'm coming to now at this point that I'm learning that I have not done that my whole life. Really, was not. I was never focused on what I needed for myself, but now I'm learning it. So it's I'm working through that.
Yeah. Yeah. So for everyone listening, and Noah mentioned it a couple of times, but she's a huge book nerd and also a poet.
Yes.
Does your mind just remember quotes like I do with memes and captions?
I remember if it's, I mean, with my ADHD and the brain fog, sometimes my memory's not the best, but when something really touched me deeply, which things do, like a song, a poem, a novel, a film, a play, I get touched very easily by the arts in general, but especially when it comes to literature and theater and film and music, all those sort of things. I'll remember what it did. So like I'll remember what it made me feel. I'll remember how it inspired me. And obviously to remember the certain things, quotes or things that were said, I like highlight them and I type them somewhere. So then I always have them.
So speaking of writing,
Yeah.
you are working on your publishing your own book.
Yes.
I don't have access to that. I did find that you have a poem published in the Children's Inn
Yes.
of NIH called Book of Hope.
Yes.
Would you mind if I read it out loud?
Sure, you can definitely read it.
I did wish I had a sexier voice, but I'm going to try. Okay, here we go. It's called The Window by Nora Maria Victoria. A lot of A's. So here we go. The window well traveled, always by my side, my companion through the darkest of times. The fog that lifted in the air ran away once the eye caught a glimpse of light. Hope and courage crossed the street. I knew then I was not alone. I'll just say it again, just so everyone can listen to my voice a second time. So the window well traveled, always by my side, my companion through the darkest of times. The fog that lifted in the air ran away once the eye caught glimpse of light. hope and courage crossed the street, I knew then that I was not alone. I will interpret it, and then you can tell me if I'm right. Deal?
Deal.
So it seemed that you're in a car, then your eyes light up when you see a McDonald's sign. Did I capture the moment?
Wow, why didn't I think of that when I was writing that? That would have been good. That would add a little bit of
I mean,
my
that's how
wit.
I interpret it.
And poetry is for whatever who reads it interprets it in their own way. It's what they're feeling at the moment they read it. It's not about necessarily what the author did. It's mainly what I want with my poetry is I want the person to interpret it however they want. And that's a pretty good
Well,
interpretation.
since you wrote the poem, so what did it mean to you? Like,
Well,
what would go into your mind when you wrote it?
you've got the window part and you're looking out a window. So you've got that right on track. McDonald's slightly off the beaten track, but I love food, so it's not completely terrible. What I was writing about was all the times of me traveling in the car, going to NIH and going to Children's Hospital, and I would just look out the window a lot of the time and just sort of just observe, sort of observe the people walking on the sidewalks because I live in country, country, country bumpkin. So anytime I'm in a city area, when I'm seeing people walking, I always just observe. As a writer, the crucial thing is that you observe because then you get things from everywhere. As a writer, that's your hope, is that when you are observing what is in front of you, that you can interpret it in your own way. And so I would just observe people walking, on the sidewalks, walking across when the stoplight and things like that. And so it just made me think about, wow, this window in this car has been my companion throughout my whole life, traveling to all the different medical appointments and things like that. So that's what the inspiration was when I started writing the poem.
Okay. I mean, we can't, we can't say if we're right or wrong, but yeah, that definitely encapsulate what you're going through throughout the whole podcast, really.
Yes.
Well, you have your own poems, but do you have a favorite quote
Well,
that you reference to?
yes, I have. Now, if you really want to get into this, I can say it. My absolute favorite number one poet and playwright is William Shakespeare. He's the one that got me out of a really dark time in my life. And my favorite quote is from his play Richard II, which is "For I must nothing be." And I just absolutely love it. Um, and coming from a writer perspective and coming from a faithful perspective, what that quote means for me is that sometimes, well, for me, in my faith and how I am, sometimes in order to really live your purpose or live this sort of planned life that you feel like this is what is meant for you. Everyone is given a gift. You can be an artist, a writer, a person that does podcasts, as you do, a public speaker. Each person has a gift that's been given, and sometimes in order to achieve certain things, you have to not be so, what's the word I'm trying to look for? It's sort of like you have to go down and be humble in order to really achieve things in a certain way. So as a writer, I am not doing it because I want, like to be extremely famous or all that. I want to do it because I just want to touch somebody else. I want them to read it and feel like, wow, I can relate to that. I want to give my voice out, but not necessarily for myself. Not to give myself the credit. It's more I just want to fulfill what I feel like I've been given to do. and that is to be a writer and to tell stories and to give a voice to certain stories that may not have one, and just be an overall storyteller.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone that's listening to the podcast can agree that you're a badass. And
Well, thank you.
yes, yeah. So before I take a mic away from you, is there anything you want to say, promote, any words of wisdom, a lottery numbers, the one to win? The mic is all yours.
uh, well, mainly, I think what I would want to say is that I am a type of person that loves culture, that loves learning about people. I am, because I've mostly self educated myself, I feel it's highly important to learn things about everything, about the good and the bad in this world, because that's just how life is. Life is both of those things. You can't have one or the other. It's a you have to see the beauty in the mixture of both, even if it's not good. It's something that you learn from. Because you learn from your mistakes, right? You don't necessarily sit there and learn from, oh, everything's great. So for me, that's why I love reading different things. That's why I love reading from different countries and different cultures and different religions, because I feel it's just important to learn as much as you can. And for me, I am, in a way, as much as my diagnosis causes a lot of trouble physically and mentally, I wouldn't be the person I am today if I haven't gone through what I've gone through. I don't think I would be the same person. So that's where I'm thankful to God, in the sense of helping me figure out where I fit within my circumstances. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I love that my brain works in the way that I'm a writer and that I'm a poet and I'm a storyteller, because definitely my brain does not work in the sciences. Definitely doesn't. But I appreciate the people that their brain does do that, because that's amazing. That's astonishing to me. And that I just hope that with my poetry book, that when I publish it, which I'm hoping by the end of this year, I'm in the works of, fine combing it, getting the poems that I want to do, and it should soon be out to the world, and hopefully everyone enjoys it.
Yeah, just let me know when it's published, and I'll definitely promote it.
Yes.
But thank you so much for coming here and giving me your time. Thank you everyone for listening and watching, and I'll see everyone next time.
All right,
Bye.
great. Thank you. Bye.